Well, summer is coming to Boston. Not that we needed reminding right after this past week with the heat wave. But in just a couple of weeks, on June 20th, is the summer solstice, the longest day of the year and the official start to summer. And though many of us continue to work our usual hours in the week ahead, there is definitely an undeniable vibe shift in the summer. As school years end and gatherings of family and friends venture outdoors, it's a renewal of sorts, a reemergence into the world after a long winter. We now plant the seeds of whatever we want to harvest in the fall that will sustain us through the next winter. So I ask you today, how can you invite renewal into the weeks ahead? What are those seeds that you wish to plant? And at risk of jumping metaphors a bit, what is it that you need in order to fill your cup? And what helps it stay filled? Gosh, I have noticed these past couple of months that I have been doing a lot to fill my cup. I'm having more discipline with spiritual practice. I'm creating spaciousness in my days when I can. Connecting with friends, family, and colleagues. The list goes on. I'm sure you have your own list too. But it feels like it's emptying so much quicker than I'm accounting for. As if all that's happening in our country and in the world right now is a siphon. And as soon as the trickle of sustenance drips out of the cup, the rest just flows out with it. Has anyone else felt that lately? Yeah, thank you, hands. Yeah. So maybe we need more things to fill our cup. Perhaps that means making the most out of the summer months by going outside, soaking up the sun, or gathering with others, celebrating the beauty around us. Maybe it looks like channeling last week's flower communion. Whatever that looks like to you, hold on to it. But maybe we also need to find ways to stop that siphon effect. Because as much as these things can fill up that cup, can help us feel renewed, we also need to be resilient in our hope. We have to notice that work that we do to keep our cups full. And we need to value that work, especially when it goes unseen. So often, the most important work that we do in life is unseen. Those moments of processing, the time we spend thinking or listening or feeling or resting. It's an unseen, and in a world that really capitalizes on our time, it can feel less important than the visible work we do. And so our reading this morning, which I haven't forgotten, is an excerpt from a poem titled Invisible Work by Alison Luterman. She writes, "Because no one could ever praise me enough, because I don't mean these poems only, but the unseen, unbelievable work it takes to live the life that goes on between them. I think all the time about invisible work, of the invisible work that stitches up the world day and night, the slow, unglamorous work of healing, the way worms in the garden tunnel ceaselessly so the earth can breathe. Whispering and whispering to us long after we have stopped listening. I stop and let myself lean a moment against the blue shoulder of the air. The work of my heart is the work of the world's heart. There is no other art. The work of my heart is the work of the world's heart. In this poem, Alison Luterman reflects on the invisible, incremental work of life, but especially of parenthood, and the years-long effort to care for the people around us, the people most reliant on us, including ourselves. And in a reflection on this poem, Reverend Jennifer Enos notes that the incremental work we do constantly in our lives is some of the very loneliest work. It is so lonely, it can be hard to remember our own worth. Am I simply out here entirely by myself? And why? Why is it that I'm so alone? Last week in the Flower Communion, we celebrated the beauty that we see in community, the visible work that ties us together, that makes us feel less alone. And in some ways, we made visible the work that strengthens community through that embodied communion ritual of bringing our flowers up, complete with 2 vases bursting with color. We reminded each other that we are not out here alone, trying to do it all by ourselves. And it's so important that we have these reminders, and it's also so important that we take time to honor the work that will remain unseen. The inner processing, the emotional regulation, the meaning-making that risks being undervalued in our daily lives, and when undervalued, invites dangerous questioning of self-worth. Feeling like we are doing this unseen work alone can make us forget just how important the work is. Luterman reminds us, the work of my heart is the work of the world's heart. The visible work that stitches up the world, the work of healing. What is the work of your heart this week? And has it been hard to make time for it? The visible work that stitches up the world. I love that image. And there's part of me that yearns to wax poetic about the world that we live in and the heart of it all. I like best to wax about the trees and the sun, the moon, but it takes effort to appreciate those things, and sometimes that energy isn't there. To quote one of my favorite comedians, Jacqueline Novak, it can get to be too much, just night after night curled in a windowsill, seeing the moon as if for the first dang time. But alas, we are reflecting this morning about the power of seeing, the value of the unseen realms. And when we draw our awareness to the structures that hold us, the community that holds us, the network of small connections, tiny threads that give to us what we need and uses what we can give, it's like the mycelium that lies beneath the forest floor, a network of small fungal threads that fruit mushrooms. Often I hear about the ways these underground networks of mycelium live in the roots of trees and create a wood wide web. That wasn't my thing, I just thought it was too good. And it sends cues from tree to tree biochemically and electrically. It's referred to as the mycorrhizal network. And in her book, Finding the Mother Tree, Suzanne Simard likens this cryptic underground fundal network to our own human brains. In the forest, the old and young are perceiving, communicating, and responding to one another by emitting chemical signals cascading across fungal membranes, chemicals identical to our own neurotransmitters. And these signals can enable nutrient transfer. The old trees nurture the young ones and provide them food and water. When one tree has something to give and another is in need, that network allows them to share that resource. I mean, hearing about this absolutely intensified my admiration of trees, which I hadn't thought possible as I approach many a tree similarly to the moon, as if it were the first time anyone had noticed the way the leaves glisten in the sun and the melody they sing as the wind whistles past them. And there are even some plants that entirely rely on these mycorrhizal networks to get nutrients because they don't photosynthesize. One of these plants that relies on the sugar from the tree roots instead of through photosynthesis is a ghost pipe. The name reflects the color of the plant, which is white. It contains none of the green chlorophyll that enables photosynthesis. I've seen many of them in Middlesex fells. Maybe you've come across them too, often under a tree. And for a long while, the Western approach to forestry thought of them as a parasite, relying entirely on the nutrients they gathered from the roots of other plants. Isn't it interesting how something relying on the interdependent web of existence is a parasite? Whew. So I wonder if you've seen these too. Their stems and flowers are waxy white. Each stem has one flower and it looks downward, downtrodden, with scalloped petals. I have to admit, I wax a bit. I can't help it. My will for humility falters under the hefty temptation of personification. But do you think that the ghost pipe was sad because they saw the grasses up on the sunny hill so green, so self-sufficient, and they felt like they too had to figure out how to do it all by themselves, how to survive on their own, but they couldn't. They had to rely on the network below them, on the trees above them. Then one day they realized that those grasses that seemed like they had their life together were so lush and vibrant because they were connected to the network too. And the fungal network increased how much water they could absorb. And that allowed them to thrive. And when the grasses thrived, they were able to prevent erosion and helped others survive. I wonder what the ghost pipe thought then. Maybe they would realize that because they don't need the sun, for that very same reason, they need support from the network. They can thrive in shady spots where many others can't. And because downward-facing flowers protect their nectar from the dilution of rain, the bees and other insects that visit their well can access those transformed sugars taken from the hidden network below. They would realize that they first found this network because they were looking for something they needed, and now they're part of something so much bigger than themselves. And they're a meaningful, necessary part of it. They belong to it. It's often the work unseen that allows for that transformation and resilience. Why do I tell you the story of the ghost pipes, other than I'm a big fan? Because we all have those ghost pipes in our lives, those things that seem useless, maybe something we do all the time, and maybe it even feels parasitic to the priorities of our day, yet are subtly doing that work of renewal, the work of not necessarily filling our cups, but keeping them full. Perhaps sometimes even we can feel like a ghost pipe, questioning our worth because we're comparing things that are intrinsically connected and reliant on one another, labeling some work or time commitment good or better, even if the unseen effort that we're doing is what's holding it all together. I tell you the story of the ghost pipes because you, I know, are eco-loving people who I would bet would never look at any part of our ecosystem and think it useless. Yet the systems that we live in can convince us that our renewal and our resilience is not a good use of our time if it doesn't result in some kind of visible work. I tell you the story of the ghost pipes because we need to remind each other as often as possible that we are worthy of the unseen work that we do. The work of your heart is the work of the world's heart. There is no other art. And if you're having trouble identifying the ghost pipes in your life right now, I want to leave us today with an example. When I think of healing work of the heart, I'm reminded of Tricia Hersey, a Black theologian who's using her institutional savvy and work energy to drive change. She calls herself the Nap Bishop. And in 2016, she founded the Nap Ministry, which frames the importance of rest as a racial and social justice issue and calls for rest as a form of resistance to white supremacy and other forms of oppression. This is the kind of work that for so long has gone unseen and still does go unseen if we're not careful. But it's also the work of transformation. Hersey has made it clear that rest is the only way to disrupt the Black exhaustion which perpetuates experiences of oppression. When faced with exhaustion, it's not possible, it's not feasible to do the work of liberation and resistance. In fact, when we're exhausted, we are at the highest risk of perpetuating that system of unseen work, the systemically imposed racism and oppression that plays a role in all of our lives. Hersey helps us see that one way to unearth this ever-present system is to be aware of this narrative that flows through us and around us constantly. The narrative sneakily judges us by our ability to do enough. We hear it in the shoulds. I should be able to do more. I should have finished that task. I should feel better. Of course we should. And maybe we would, but we can't. That's why we didn't. And we won't be able to do it when we want to if we allow the judgmental expectations that come from places beyond and within us to control how we think of ourselves. We have to ask why. We have to give ourselves the grace of curiosity. And to do that, Hersey tells us we must pause. We must rest. Rest can mean different things for different folks. It can look different ways. So, in the weeks ahead, find the renewal. Fill your cup. Honor the unseen work for yourself. the unseen, unbelievable effort it takes to live the life that happens in the in-between. The invisible work that stitches up the world day and night, the slow, unglamorous work of healing, the way worms in the garden tunnel ceaselessly so the earth can breathe. Shine your light on the ghost pipes throughout your days. Let the unseen work remind you of your place in this web of interconnectedness. Let the unseen work remind you that your existence is essential. And whenever you can, stop. And let yourself lean a moment against the blue shoulder of the air. The work of your heart is the work of the world's heart. There is no other art. Amen.
Following my nose, the path of peace. As we walk it, we'll know which way to go. Can't go too far wrong. I mean, look at all this. Look at all this. What a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I want to fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, could I find more of this? The waves carry me in, salt water on my skin. I'm coming home. Close my eyes while you drive. Sometimes it's just time to go. Look at all this, what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I want to fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, can I find more of this? It's the road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, it's the no, it's the yes, it's the kid in the store. The road, it's the sky, it's that look in your eyes, it's the touch, it's the kiss, it's the pocket of lint, it's the scrape on your knee, it's the knock on the door, no, the yes, the kid in the store. Look at all this, what a gift, what a gift. The world is a miracle. I want to fall back in love with. This is a prayer. If you're there, can I find